Good evening if you're watching live, and welcome to episode 172 of the About the Cards podcast. Live tonight on YouTube, as always, with hosts Stefan Loeffler at Junkwax Twins.
Oh, hi.
Myself, Ben Wilson, at Our Trading Cards. We are a podcast by collectors for collectors, and we hope to bring you a smart and insightful podcast discussing trading card collecting. We are live every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Pacific.
10 Central. On
YouTube, Facebook Live, and Twitch. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at About the Cards. Also, we have a Facebook page, both Facebook and a Facebook collecting group, Buy, Sell, Trade, at About the Cards. You can search that on the Facebook. We're available as a podcast everywhere you can find one. You can check out our website, aboutthecards.wordpress.com. We want to welcome back show friend, hobby friend, brother, special guest host, Ken Kinsley at Bean's B-Card blog.
Howdy. And don't forget Lola, too.
That's right. Lola, she's a little scared tonight, right? She's in there with Dad because anxiety over a storm. So we've got an extra host in the box tonight. So before we get into a conversation with you, Ken, unfortunately, we had some sad news to pass along in the world of baseball. A longtime Oakland A's broadcaster, Ray Fosse, passed away sometime today. Word kind of dropped about 2 hours ago. Obviously, this one hits home a little bit, just being a lifelong A's fan. He's always been on the radio. So, you invite these people into your home, not just as players and on baseball cards, but the announcers as well, because their voice is literally in your living room, in your car with you. A little more intimate than just the second baseman that was a trade deadline acquisition. So Ray's been a part of my baseball experience really my entire life, and he stepped away, I believe in July, maybe it was August, to be with his family. The announcement of cancer, and unfortunately, he succumbed to that today. He was at home in Illinois, as far as I understand, with his family. Ray was born April 4th, 1947. He was a 256 career average, 61 home runs, 12.8 WAR across 12 seasons, 8 of them with the Cleveland Indians, 3 with the Oakland A's. A little bit of time with both Milwaukee and Seattle. He was a two-time World Series champ in 73 and 74. Two-time All-Star. Of course, can't mention Ray Fosse without the 70 All-Star game with Pete Rose and that infamous collision. He won 2 Gold Gloves. He grew up in Illinois as a Cardinals fan. His favorite player was Stan Musial. He will definitely be missed by, not just the baseball community, but specifically Oakland A's fans, and I'm sure a lot of fans in the Cleveland area as well. So may he rest in peace, and obviously, thoughts and his family, friends, and anybody who was touched by him. So also former podcast co-host Tim Shepler, we want to send out a thought with him. He's going to be having a surgery tomorrow that he announced earlier on Twitter. So please keep him in your thoughts as he goes for that surgery tomorrow. We wish him well. And he'll be back in no time, I'm sure. And then, Steph, you had a couple things real quick?
I do. I wanted to give a happiest of happy birthdays to best man at the wedding, brother from another mother. My cousin turns 34 as well. Known him since ever. 2 weeks and 2 days older than him. And it's his birthday today, and soon to be my dad's on the 16th. So happy birthday to both of them. And then I wanted to pass along some other. Where am I broadcasting from? Where did my window go? There it is. Beep boop. The horrible news for young adult readers. The author of Hatchet, who is, although being born in Minneapolis, graduated high school from Lincoln High School in Thief River Falls, my hometown. The high school my mom graduated from, the high school that my dad went to for a short time. Wrote about surviving the wilderness and the joys of the outdoors, if you will. And it's unfortunate to hear that, because it was part of my childhood growing up, reading Hatchet and Wood Song and River Song and others. So
what's his name?
Gary Paulson.
Okay. Maybe I didn't hear it. Maybe you didn't mention it.
I skipped over it.
Yeah, you like to throw shout outs and then forget people's names. So,
But
happy birthday to Dad. Happy birthday to cousin. And all right, so Ken, what's up? What's new in your world of collecting since last time you've been on? I know it's been quite a while.
Well, if you guys are going to get your stuff in, I'm going to get mine in too. My stepson is here. He came back.
Joy.
He down at Texas State, but he came home. His birthday is tomorrow, so in an hour and 53 minutes. So happy birthday, Dylan, though you can't hear me right now, and I know you're never going to watch this show, but that's okay. It's the thought
Happy
that counts.
birthday,
I
Dylan.
know I did it. Hey, he's going to be 20, the big 2-0.
nice.
Yeah, and the other thing I was going to say is, Ben, you're a little closer to my age than Steph is. I know he's a little younger than us, but yeah, I've been thinking a lot lately. You mentioned with Ray Fosse's passing, I had forgotten that he was actually that he called games. But yeah, we're definitely getting to that age where it's getting really fast, and it seems like we're losing. And I don't mean losing as in passing away, but the voices of our youth are retiring. They're dropping left and right. Blackhawks. Pat Foley is only calling part of the game this year. I grew up as a teenager living in West Virginia, but I could get MVP out of Chicago, and that's how I became a Blackhawks fan. And he called the games, and, he's retiring after this season. And, yeah, just a lot of the voices of our youths are retiring, man. I think that means we're getting old. We're next. We're next.
Yeah. Being late product of the late 80s, right? Go to the old timers games back in the old days when they had those. Watching guys like Ray Fosse as your starting catcher for the old timers game, no big deal, right? If we were to go to one now, your starting first baseman would be Don Mattingly, and you'd have Chipper Jones at third base, and you're like, wait, no, it's okay when they were the guys.
Older. I'm not getting older; just everyone else is.
Right.
Yeah. It's like, oh boy. So you and obviously another former guest of the show, Herman Bryant, 3B Collections. You guys do something every Monday night, and I know he's talked about it a little bit. What have you guys been up to on the show lately on Mondays?
We just try to, hit the topics. We had to take a little bit of a break. Life happens. Life's way more important than cards. So I had to take a break, and then Dan, why am I having a Korean cardboard, stepped in and helps for a week, and then we came back so we could, so I could get up and yell about Fanatics when the more official news came out. Whatever news it was came out a couple weeks ago. So of course I had to go on my 4-page rant. And then we tend to talk about things, when we look at them from more of I think we both look at them from more of a collector aspect, which you guys do as well, because we're not flip vesters.
And
now,
we won't be chat like that. Sorry, goodbye. Bob.
Jesus.
Sorry, got somebody else in the chat room. Sorry about that. Go ahead, Ken.
No, garbage. But anyway, we just tend to talk about, some collecting type things. Like this past week, our two topics were, I hear a lot of talk about people when collecting their birth year set. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to ask about it because Herman is doing that. He's like 25 cards away from completing his 72 top set, his birth year. And, and my thing was, I'd heard a lot of people talk about it, and Shep was, I think, one of the first ones I heard talk about it. And then, some other guys chime in and all this and that. And I wanted to start doing it. And I guess as I thought about it more, I'm like, I don't really have any nostalgia for that set. What I have nostalgia for, what I want to go back and complete, is all of the 1987 top sets, or all the 1987 sets, because that's the first year I collected. I did a video on Monday on my YouTube channel. I try to do videos 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, and I opened the 1987 Superstars of Baseball set from KB because it just a couple weeks prior, another channel, RJ Collects Sets, was showing off the 87 Kraft home plate heroes, and just the nostalgia. I've been on a nostalgia kick anyway lately. I guess that's what happens when you get to middle age. But I don't even know where I was going. Oh, but yeah, so like I get I get the nostalgia and the memories from the cards I collected when I started collecting at 8 years old, not cards from where I was born. And then another thing we talk about, again, topics, is a poll I had put up that what concerns you more, what's more important to you, the cost of acquiring cards for your collection or how much money you can get out of your cards? Because I feel like that's almost as close as you can get to determining if someone is a collector, and what I call a true collector. I know some people hate that term. Sorry about damn luck. Or if you're a flip vester. It's tough to continue to pay more for cards that you got 5 years ago for a third of the price. So that's where my I guess I don't want to say focus is, but so those are the kind of topics we talk about, mostly collecting type stuff. We're not hard hitting or anything like that. You guys both know I can be very opinionated, and so do a lot of guys in the chat.
No,
know me.
Not you.
I mentioned the nostalgia thing, and I've tried to trying to become a gentler, calmer being. Trying.
I don't know about that.
It comes and goes. It comes and goes. It comes and goes.
I did say a while back.
There's a song on that.
If you and I were ever like at the content creators dinner together, I don't know that we'd be allowed to sit across from one another out of fear that there might be some collateral damage as we discuss, depending on who else is at the table with us. Certain personalities, that's what we love about you, and I'm sure that other people might not, right? I know I don't have not every friend in the hobby, right? Because you say things, you do things. It's like, hey, this is just me, take it or leave it. And
people like to tell me I'm negative, and I don't think I'm negative. I think I'm realistic.
Yeah.
But I, understand why people can think I'm negative, but that's because I love the hobby and I want it to continue. I want it to grow a little bit, maybe not at the rate it's growing now, but I want what I think is best for collectors, and I'm going to express my opinions, right, wrong, or indifferent. We're not going to get along. I get tired of we've got to embrace all the new collectors and blah, 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 blah. The new collectors? Absolutely. But I don't think we all need to hold hands around the campfire and sing Kumbaya with some of these jagoffs that are coming into the hobby. So, but I'm trying to be calm. I'm trying to be calmer. I'm trying to just not get fired up. Not good for the
you're
blood
at that
pressure.
age where now the heart is a problem, right? You gotta, you don't want to have the EKG over Ben Baller Chrome that just drops. It's like, come on.
Oh. Or tops, like I could sit here, and like I said, I don't really want to gripe too much, but tops, I'm like, you didn't release you released 3 things for Montgomery Club over 4 months period. Now you've released 5 things in the last 3 weeks. It's almost like you've said in the past about, you want to allocate your funds to your set, but you get nothing for a while, it feels like, and then all of a sudden you get 6 releases in 8 weeks or 6 releases in 4 weeks. So, but that's just me being a grumpy old man. What can I do?
As opposed to being a realist and pointing out the obvious, where I haven't had to change a part of the show notes in 3 weeks because it's something dropped for Montgomery Club. I haven't had to put that on any of the show notes up until, since I took over this part from Shep. It's the last couple of weeks, it's like Tops has done me a favor, not in a good way per se, right? Because every day Montgomery Club this. It's like and then there's that question, do you feel obligated to buy your allocation because you subscribed? And some say yes, some say no, some say I'll buy it at cost, I'll sell it to you at cost. And some of the stuff that's recently come out just seems like it's really meant for the breaking community, which in and of itself.
Things I've noticed too is that price has gone up on those things for Montgomery Club. It's not you get it at a cheaper price now. It's just you get first access. But something else I've noticed that I hadn't seen anybody else mention is Used to be when you bought those, you could get the whatever the the slowest shipping is for free. Now you're having to pay for that. So nickel and diamond everywhere they can. Because I used to choose the slowest option because I'm not sitting over here waiting to break it. I've got Formula One. I've got a box of Formula One Sapphire from last year still sitting on a shelf. Damn thing's going for almost $2,000 now on eBay. But I'm not sitting here waiting to own them. I'm like, I can save $12 by getting it a week or two later. Sounds good to me.
Yeah, I mean, hey, if you buy singles, that's a single, 2 singles, 3 singles. I mean, if you look at it from that reallocating your disposable funds, and so yeah, because you've been on with us before, and you're a content creator, and a lot of people follow you. It's like, what do we want to talk about with you? I know we're talking privately, and then a good friend happens to be coming on next week, Nick Vosbrink, is like, wait, Ken's on? You just got to ask him about collecting pre-war cards and why it's so much fun. So figure we take a couple minutes and kind of talk about, why is pre-war, and we can even mix in early vintage, say pre-1970, why is it so much fun compared to all of this modern stuff that we're seeing everybody salivating over and killing each other, so to speak, to get at targets,
Well, I feel like where it starts for me is I think modern sports suck. Plain and simple. Pretty much they all suck. Baseball is so boring. The only time I turn baseball on is when I need to take a nap and I can't fall asleep.
You mean you don't football, like runners on second base in extra innings?
I don't. That, and I also don't like that it's just a home run hitting contest. It's now just I'm so old, I remember when people used to steal bases.
What's that?
That's exciting. Watching some roided up dude knocking it 500 feet, it's just not that exciting to me. And same thing over to the NBA. I just don't like the modern game. I really tried to get into it the last couple of years, but it's all freaking 3-point shooting contest.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
It is.
There's
the center position is devalued to the point where most teams, a minimum salary for a couple of big guys to clog the paint once in a while.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I was watching a video from a channel that I follow. It's I can't remember what it's called, but it's like throwback basketball, and he was talking about how the 90s, what it was like 93 or 94 Sonics would do in today's game, and he's like, well, Sean Kemp could be the center in today's game. And then you could, take, put somebody else at his position that can shoot 3 or whatever. But yeah, it's just, it bores me. There's no inside game, and that's the game I liked. I couldn't shoot from very far. I was just a big boy, so I just used my bit and moved people out of the way, got as close to the rim as I could, and threw up a shot and prayed it went in. But anyway, I mean, NASCAR is just not what it used to be. The only thing we really watch in this, NFL's got so many problems that I'm not even gonna, I'm not even gonna touch that one. But I mean, the only thing we watch in this house anymore, and this comes from a guy that, as a kid, collected every sport, consumed just about anything I could. I was that. Came home from school or work, and ESPN was on from the time I got home until the time that I went to bed. Well, we fell asleep with it on. We just don't have that love for modern sports. The only things that I really, that we really watch in this house is NHL, because both my wife and I enjoy hockey, so we watch Stars and Blackhawks games.
And then opening night was last night.
Do what? Yeah, we had it on for a little bit, but I will say though that we're pretty much in general we watch Stars and Blackhawks games. Now, come the playoffs, we'll watch a lot of other stuff, and the Olympics will be during the season, so we'll watch that. I watch college football, but man, even my fanhood for college football is going away because of things like transfer portals and consistent conference realignment. And I mean, I've become a Michigan fan this year because they actually run the damn ball. It actually reminds me of when I was a kid. And I can't stand Harbaugh. I can't stand their coach, but I like the way they play football. And I've watched, I think, all but one of their games this year. And then I watch, some IndyCar racing. And that's all the sports I watch. And this is a guy that, when I was like 17, 18 years old, my mom told me one day, you're eventually going to have a shirt that doesn't have a sports logo on it, right? Like, I don't know. Maybe not. And, here we are. So that's why, that is a very long answer as to why I've always liked history. I liked, social studies in school, things like that. So, learning the history, when you go over into non-sports cards, I use this example a lot. There's like a flags of the nations card. I don't remember what the T number is on it, but it's got countries in there that don't exist anymore.
Right.
It's got Korea spelled Corea. It's just all of those things. Some of those early animal sets, that would have animals of the world or animals of this.
Sure.
Some of those animals don't exist anymore.
T59.
Some of them are in. Yeah, I mean, there's multiple ones between the U.S. and then the wills and all of those from overseas. There's many the animals that are gone now, so it's nice to go back and see those. And then of course how I feel about dogs, so I love dog sets. But moving back into sports, it's just more about the history and the stories and how the game has changed. And you go and that's the exact card right there that I'm talking about. And so it all kind of, it's a bunch of different things, but that is why. Lately, I've actually been in a football nostalgia thing. And I said I don't care about the NFL at all, but I've been watching a crap ton on YouTube of old NFL films videos. And guys from the 40s and 50s, and I've picked up a couple of cards here and there after seeing, I like that. I like his story, or I like what I saw, so I go and I pick that up instead, and I can't get that out of a pack.
Yeah,
but
it's funny you mentioned some of those old pre-war. I picked this one up recently. Let's see if I can get the camera. It's a 1910 Flexo Giants Little Cigars. It's pulling down King George's statue. And, it's like $11 shipped, 110-year-old card. And I saw one come up on on my Twitter timeline. It was like, I didn't know that series existed. And go in there and to be able to pick up one inexpensive, just to have one. Nice colors, still nice condition. It's different. You're not going to get anything like that from any pack in the last, since Topps existed, 1951. You're just not going to find anything like that. You can't. And definitely not finding anything that's going to mirror that in this modern age of, I just pulled this, what's it worth? Got to get it graded. What's it going to grade at? Who should I send it to? You want to buy it? DM me for offer. You just,
And something that I think is not talked about a lot, because we also, we don't tend to analyze. I mean, we judge other collectors more than we analyze other collectors, but we're all wired differently. And like I said, I have an appreciation for history. When I was a kid, I loved baseball to the point that one of my dad's coworkers, he literally thought I was a party favor, because he could ask me any baseball history question, and odds were I knew the answer. Now, of course, this guy wasn't a huge baseball fan, so it was, the more common things. One of my favorite computer games growing up was a baseball game, but it had a bunch of the guys from the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. So I knew those players, and then as you get older and the world has shrunk and we have all this information at our fingertips, I can go find out anything. I can go find out a lot about Roger Brushnahan right now if I want to. I remember him from that video game, and I didn't really know anything much about him other than his name and a few statistics. But now I can go back and I can research and I can learn about these guys, and that's something, I got to that point before, and my problem in the hobby is staying focused. That's probably my biggest problem, is staying focused. So I've been here before, but I'm kind of getting back to where it's enjoy the stories, enjoy the cards, have a reason to get those. And, another thing about the pre-war is, or the vintage even, or any card, any single, I don't buy boxes to open. I buy some of my Montgomery Club ones, and I may open one of those. I was actually dumb enough to pay the asking price on a 2021 Ginter X, because at some point I will open that because I enjoy what they do with Ginter, and Ginter X is fun. I like the black borders and all that kind of stuff. But I would rather go spend, now I can say $30 on a single instead of a blaster. Just know what I get that vintage single. You can get people sometimes will show off these like T206s, and they'll be like, man, I'd love to have one of those, but I just can't afford that. You can't. I just saw you post where you bought 4 blasters last week. You can afford it if you want it. It's just, if that's not where your priority is, there's nothing wrong with that. You have a mentality where you want to play the card lottery. And I did that for years and years and years and years. But over the last, 5 years or so, I've gotten to where I don't want to do that. I would rather put that, 2 blasters. I'd rather put that $60 into something that I know I want. Something that actually will potentially retain some value. Things like that. Opening a new box of cards is kind of like driving a brand new car off the parking lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
You lose the value as soon as you open it.
The negative net return value has to be less than 50%, which means if you get 50% of your cost back in secondary valuation, you're lucky. I mean, yeah, you're going to get boxes that exceed it, but on average, and if you're just buying one box, odds are highly against you that you're going to get your money back or half of it.
Well, and it's funny that you mentioned Ginter as their silk cards are kind of a segue into a set that I recently found that I want to chase down the 10 versions of. So Murad produced these in 1910 for different colleges. So in this instance, it's a silk for Texas with a baseball bat. However, of the multiple colleges, there's different poses. So there's going to be a Cornell one of this. There's going to be a Syracuse one of this. There's going to be a Texas version of this. There's going to be a Michigan version of this ice hockey player. Well, there's a University of Minnesota one as well. Sets, this is pre-war cards. 2 designs in baseball, so 1 hitting, 1 pitching, a football, a hockey, a golf, a hammer throwing, hurdles, rowing, running, and the shot put.
Interesting.
In 2 different sizes. So there's a smaller and a near to postcard sized size for these 25 universities. Well, now I need them.
I do not.
I didn't know about them yesterday.
You did. He's making stupid parallels back 110 years ago.
Well, yeah, and that's it. There's 10 for each of the 25 universities of those sports. Well, now I need them. I need them yesterday.
And this is a good say.
But you can't want. You didn't want them yesterday.
I might have been heading towards that.
So
I got it.
So a good segue, though, based on what Ken you had just said, as well as Steph, what you're saying here was, what advice would you have, Ken, for a collector who's maybe have a pre-war, maybe have a little bit of vintage, but you're not really a vintage collector, you're not a pre-war collector, but I want to get into it, right? I just saw those, and now it's something I want to pursue. What advice would you give for somebody that really wants to start focusing on that? Because their lack of focus perhaps led them that way. They're not sure what direction they want to head. Where do I start?
I mean, it's hard to give an all-encompassing answer because kind of as I said, we're all built differently. Our brains work differently. But it all comes down to what we hear all the time: collect what you love. Are you I apologize to anyone that's an Oakland A's fan, but are you an A's fan? Well, maybe you go back, couldn't resist there. But in all seriousness, are you a Red Sox fan? Well, yeah, work hard. That's a great place to start. Anson's website is fantastic. I guess I'll go to resources. There are, we were talking about those Flags of the World cards. I have a book that somebody suggested that has all of the pre-war non-sports sets. Do you love dogs? I'm a dog person, so I want to get the dogs cards. I have certain other animals. I like koala bears. I call Lola my little koala bear because she kind of looks like one in some ways. But the resources, pre-war cards is a fantastic resource. Net 54. It's almost, I've heard people say the same thing. What are the suggestions to people getting into the hobby now? You need to lurk a little bit. You need to see what's going on. You need to learn before you just start throwing cash in the air.
Sure.
But what do you love? Are you a Red Sox fan? Well, start looking for some pre-war Red Sox cards.
And follow Mark Hoyle.
is a good resource because what you could do is you could literally filter to baseball, select, show the sold card, whatever it is, the sold, unavailable. I know Steph knows what I'm talking about. And I use that a lot. And I go through and you can just see, oh, wow, I like the design on this one. I haven't seen it. Well, ComC has an image of it because they had it 10 years ago. They don't have it now. But you can see a picture and you can get a description of what the set is. And then you can go from there. If you like variety, if you like getting scarce stuff, what about being a type collector? That's something that is a little more niche, but basically type collectors try to get one of every type of card. So basically one card from every set. Do you want to do that so that you can see throughout the years, just how designs evolved or devolved or, whatever else?
There's a higher up executive in one of the audio companies that his sole collecting focus is cards that are card number 5s. Doesn't care for the rest of the set. He wants the silk card number 5. He wants the triple folder card number 5. He wants the crackerjack card number 5. He wants T206 card number 5.
And that sounds completely ridiculous to me. Except that, like I just said, I said we're all wired differently, and B, I like serial numbered cards that are number 007 out of something.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, who am I? It's really the same thing, just a little different, different.
Yeah.
So who am I to judge?
And as a continuation of what you had said, Ken, is we've talked about this before when. A good friend of ours, John P., right? He was in our chat room one night and he wasn't sure how to collect. And it's like, we try to break it down a little bit. If you want to get into pre-war, buy a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Just buy the cheapest T206 you can find. Go find some of them, if you're into non-sports, like this one I just showed, go buy one from, just get some of the stuff in hand, see it in your home, be around it, see what you think about it. And if it's something you got one, great. If you don't want to continue collecting it, fine. But it's very similar to what's your favorite sport, what's your favorite team, what's your favorite player, and dissect it that way. And of course, it's always going to come back to your budget as well. It's what can you afford, and don't spend beyond your means, of course. But a lot of the stuff you can pick up, like you said about the T206. I wish I could own one. $20-$30 bill will get you one in low condition, and it might not be a name player that you're familiar with, but now you own T206, and if you enjoy having that in your collection, then you can start being a little bit more focused and target certain players from certain teams, certain backs of the T206. Again, no right or wrong way to collect.
Yeah. There's so many different ways to collect that. Sometimes it's players. Maybe you collect players from your hometown, your home state, the school that you attended. I've picked up, there's a couple guys in the T206 set that played baseball at West Virginia University, where I graduated from. Unfortunately, they're both Southern Leaguers, which are much more scarce, much more expensive. And something that, and this isn't just pre-war, this would be anybody coming, relatively new into the hobby. Surround yourself with like-minded people, or people that are interested in the things that you're interested in, because you're going to just learn from them just by talking to them. And, social media has plenty of bad out there, but some of the good is that you can become friends with like-minded people that you wouldn't otherwise. Most of us collect in a vacuum. My wife is very accepting of my collecting, and she'll listen, and she retains some things, but she's not going to necessarily understand, why maybe I'm as excited about something as I am. And most collectors are like that. We collect in kind of a little bit of a vacuum where we collect alone other than online. So surround yourself with those people that are interested in those same things. I chat with Anson pre-war cards a lot. I'm on Net54. I go in spells. I haven't been on lately. But surround yourself with those people that love the same things you love. You'll learn from them, and you'll probably find things that you may not have ever seen before.
And there's somebody out there that collects everything. I don't know exactly how to say this. No matter what it is that you want to start collecting, there's somebody out there that already collects it, I guess is a better way to say it.
Something.
And yeah, latch on to somebody. If you want to get into pre-war, Anson can point you in a million different directions, for instance, of, hey, I want to collect more of this. How would I go about finding it? Or, like we talked about the flag series, there are a lot of flag series pre-war. Anson, again, great resource to say what flag series are out there and what would be the most attainable if I just wanted to start collecting something because I love geography, or I'm a social studies teacher, perhaps, and I want some of this stuff to be able to show my students or have in my PC. And, again, vast hobby.
And there are a lot of jackasses in our hobby. There's a lot of jackasses everywhere. If you go to Net54, there are a lot of arrogant, smug people, but you will be hard-pressed to find a nicer person than Anson.
Yeah,
you can find a nicer guy than him in the hobby, but you'd be hard pressed to. So yeah, I don't. Hopefully, we don't send 500 people his way, and his DMs are blown up in the morning. But
let's hope so, because then we can get him on the show.
Would love to.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, there are plenty of resources out there. Just if you want to start on vintage / pre-war. Not all vintage is pre-war, but all pre-war is vintage.
Happy birthday, Dylan.
Specifically, if you're into baseball, at 54baseball.com.
Yep.
Just start reading. I go through there, and I don't really care that much about the baseball, but I still read this just because I like the general knowledge. I'm a guy that has old card magazines that talk about different sets and stuff. Just so, sometimes I just decide, hey, I'm going to go read something. There you go. But those are, I think we've talked about both resources and what you want to collect is ultimately up to you. But yeah, there you go. Now, there are sub areas, where you can go to football, basketball, but they're certainly not as, there's certainly not as much happening there. It's probably 90% baseball on that website. But in the main thread, like I have a vintage racing thread, that's kind of in what's considered the baseball room. But I made sure I just put vintage racing as the title, and it's one thread. And there's a handful of us that from time to time will go in and talk about whatever, because there's no racing place on the site. But if the forums like this, you can search things. If there's a set you're interested in, the whatever, T37, which are turkey red automobiles, you can always search T37 in there and you may find it. You may not, but you may. You could even go back further and, you do an internet search for it because, if it's not on that message board, there are other message boards out there. There are other websites that you don't know about out there. I found a big piece of information about the T36 cards that I collect because there was an auction. I don't remember which auction site it was. And they had a letter from the American Tobacco Company discussing that The cards were to be pulled. They were supposed to be in the packs for these days, and that was it. So there's all kinds of weird resources out there that you can find. But there's a really long answer to your question.
So no, I got it. It's awesome, and I'm sure we could talk about that for a long time because again, it's really an open-ended. You could talk forever on the subject. I got 3 more quick things I want to go over before we actually get into the show. If somebody wanted to put together a vintage set from anywhere between 52 tops through 79 tops, would you recommend that they start with the more expensive or high number cards, the more sought after names, the Mantles and Mazes, what have you, or would you go try to get a filler set, commons? What direction would you point somebody?
Everyone is different, but my suggestion for a couple of reasons is you should go after the big ones first. And that's not historically what I've done. I started putting together the 55 Topps All-American football set. It's very passive. I've been working on it for almost a decade, but I pick up on average 2 or 3 cards a year for it. And we can do this with T206 too. I have like 100. I have probably about 100, 110 T206 cards. Not all unique, duplicate subjects in some cases. But instead of having those 100-something cards, I could have probably spent the same amount of money and had 2 or 3 of the Ty Cobb cards. I would rather have 2 or 3 of the Ty Cobb cards for multiple reasons. And this is just a personal one, is I've been collecting since I was 8 years old, since 1987, and it was just, it was quantity. Now I'm really trying to move to quality. So, my T207s would take a lot less space if I had 3 Ty Cobbs than if I had 100 of what I have. But 2, if it turns out that you're not really that interested in the set, and after that initial excitement wears off, and that happens, it would be a lot easier for me to move a Ty Cobb, a Tris Speaker, and a Christy Mathewson than for me to move all of those commons and get roughly what the going rate is. Sure, I could move all of those commons in a lot, but I'm getting, 50% of what the going rate is and or what I, put into those cards. So that's another. It's easier to get out of it if you decide to, and if you have the bigger names, those are the more desirable. The more desirable cards now on a vintage are going to be the more desirable cards. These guys, as we've said, these guys have passed away, or they're at least not playing anymore. They're not going to get in trouble, and their card values go down.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to have PED issues. So what's sought after now in general is still going to be the sought after card in 25 years. And then the other point that I was going to make has totally eluded me. I had it, and then I went off. I got excited there for just a minute.
If it comes back around, you see that, I think Ben and Gary Cardboard Icons had the same point, is at the end of the day, I've got a lot of 68 tops. It probably wouldn't take much to put it together, but I have got the Mantle, Mays, Aaron, Seaver, Bench, Ryan. I've got all the big boys. So, and of course, the complete A's team set, which is going to, I would say I'm probably 50% of the way there. But at the end of the day, if I never pursue it, I have the A's team set and all of the names. Boo-hoo, you get stuck with the Mantle and Mays, as opposed to, like you said, with the T206s, you got 300 1968 Topps cards in a box. They're just going to sit there until the day I die if I never pursue that set, because probably not moving them either. So,
I know what my other point was.
Run with it.
So when we see these vintage cards and all these record highs, we're not seeing record highs on common cards. We're seeing record highs on the stars, the scarce.
Sure.
The longer you wait, the more it's going to cost you.
Yep.
Plain and simple.
Sure.
There was a Ty Cobb altered it though before we had the big Dallas card show. When we used to have the old one-day Dallas card show, I passed on a Ty Cobb T206. It was slabbed, it was altered, but it was a little overpriced. Well, it ain't over. It ain't
not anymore.
I wish I had that. And looking in the chat, hey, Foul 5 Ball, I really don't give a shit what you think. You can go take a long walk off a short pier. I can't stand that guy. I know I'm probably supposed to ignore him, but I'm getting fired up. The heart rate's getting up a little bit.
So before we move on to the rest of the show, you had mentioned
Yes.
you have one big gripe about the hobby right now, and you said, I hope Panini's listening. And they might be. So if they are, hey, Panini, might want to cover your ears. I don't know what the gripe is, but what is the gripe?
And it runs into a poll that I didn't run a poll. I ran a question like, what if you could have one thing that Fanatics would do better than the current card companies do now? And I only heard one other person say what I thought mine was: customer service.
Hey, that's me.
Tops, you can't get anything out of them online. Panini, I have 3 Charles Barkley redemptions. I have 5 Alec Manoa redemptions. Outstanding. They have released cards autographed in packs from both of those players since. I have sent emails to multiple people and nobody will reply to me. There was one of their employees, and I'm not going to throw names out there, but I messaged them on Twitter. They messaged me, and then they said, give me a list. I'll get back, let me know, and, I'll look into it for you. Well, they never did. I sent a follow-up email, just said, hey, I was just checking about this. Nothing.
If you're going to work, it's a short 20-minute drive.
If you're going to work for one of these companies out there and you don't want people asking you, if you want to be on Twitter, that's fine, but don't put that you work at Panini America in your bio.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fine. If you want to drive and be on that, I completely understand that. But don't put that that's what you do. And I have sent emails. I have probably sent, email 4 to the 4th different person, because someone else messaged me and said, hey, send to this person. They helped. They actually helped me. Well, I thought about it today, and I'm like, it's been 2 or 3 weeks since I sent that email, and I haven't heard shit. And they don't seem to care, or they would do something about it. And then every time they're actually on somebody's stream, all they do is just lob them the softball questions. And you know which guys I'm talking about that are that are on these shows over and over. They're pathetic.
And that's really why
it's just it makes me want to punch a wall.
It's really why a lot of true collectors, to bring that phrase back, won't see a problem with Topps and Panini going away, at least in their current form. We don't know what Fanatics is going to bring. We don't know what Fanatics is. We know what they are from their merch and mem side of things, and that's cool. But we don't know about the trading cards. But hey, can't get a whole hell of a lot worse now, can it? Because we've seen everybody's got a horror story with the wait times to get a hold of Topps, and then when you do get a hold of them, they just don't give two craps. And it's like, hey. So we're going to head into the rest of the show. If you have any questions, drop them in the chat. If you want us to try to cover something. This just in, listener mail days and pulls. We had an awesome mail day from Mark Hoyle. He picked up an awesome 1934 Overland Candy James Fox. Jimmy Fox, listed as James. I don't know that I've ever seen one with the name James. I've seen Jimmy misspelled as Jimmy, quite a few times, but not James. Thank God he's a Red Sox. Therefore, I don't feel obligated to have to add this to my PC. Steph, you got the picture handy?
I do. He did follow up to say that he'd also previously picked up the Lefty Grove. So the problem with that has been
we don't need to talk about it.
So here's the James Emery Jimmy Fox.
There's a 36, not 34.
Yeah. And here's his Robert Moses Lefty Grove with an A on the cap.
But it's a Red Sox card. Doesn't matter.
But it talks about Connie Mack.
Doesn't matter. But see, here's the thing, though. I'm confident that Mark Hoyle is going to
rub that in your face.
Bequeath in his will all of his Grove and Fox cards. At least, fingers crossed. Mark, love you, brother. Let's get at least some of those someday, just in case the kids don't want them. If they don't want them, Ben will take them.
Can I jump into two things there?
Absolutely.
I think you actually kind of said it. If you want to start collecting vintage and pre-war, yes, you do follow Mark Hoyle. That is one that I failed to say, but I do believe Ben said it. Number two, and it's great that you have that up there. You have that authenticated, and I have been anti-slab in the past, and I'm softening on that for multiple reasons. But see, that doesn't even look like a card to me. So seeing that in an SGC holder, I probably wouldn't touch that raw.
Sure.
But because it doesn't really look like a card to me, it looks kind of like a cutout from a magazine.
Snipped out of like a magazine, yeah.
Yeah, because I see those on some WVU guys, the old WVU guys, like it's out of a magazine. I don't know if you just did that yourself in your basement or what, but seeing that in SGC holder, that's beautiful.
I bought something that was Philadelphia A's from I think the 19 teens one time, and I thought it was a card, and it was more of a cutout of some kind. I'll have to dig it out and tag you guys on Twitter. Not what I thought I was buying, but cool nonetheless. And it was very similar to this, where it's not a traditional baseball card, but definitely a one-off. Like you could say maybe the postcards and whatnot would be. Some of the team photos, the 5x7s from the 60s. But cool nonetheless, and amazing that Mark was able to pick that up and share. It's a beautiful illustration of James Fox. So please feel free.
One last thing, collecting vintage. And speaking of that, think outside the box. Educate yourself, but think outside the box. We all know that there wasn't a lot of stuff in the 20s and 30s out there, but think about things like matchbooks that are out there. Play collector, a team collector. Broaden your horizon just a little bit from cards. And I'm guilty of, I don't really like anything that's non-standard or tobacco card size or maybe leaf card size. But there's a lot of stuff out there for guys. Like I said, matchbooks are kind of the one thing I'm thinking of in particular. So maybe broaden your horizons, because during those war years, they just weren't producing baseball cards. There were slightly more important things happening.
Sure.
Especially after 1912, probably there's a dark period from 1912 to probably 1933 stuff.
Give or take, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of sporadic releases and random releases, and what's Babe Ruth's real rookie card? Well, kind of depends on what you consider a card and what
1914.
But go look up diamond. But go eBay diamond matchbooks. And you're going to find baseball, you're going to find football, you're going to find a lot of different things out there. So, you can add something cool, and a lot of times they're less than, what a card from that era would be too. So they're oftentimes an affordable addition to a collection.
Especially if you're already collecting memorabilia, then it fits right in line with that non-traditional trading card items that still fit into your PC as a one-off, maybe already something you do collect. So please feel free to share with About the Cards your recent awesome mail days or pulls. Tag at About the Cards on Twitter with pictures or a video. You can use the About the Cards mail day hashtag, and we'll do our best to feature your cards on an upcoming episode. The week that was last week's releases, Topps Living Week 187. Card 455, Colton Wong of the Brewers, sold 1,525 from Jared Kelly, and then card 456, Garrett Whitlock, pitcher of the Red Sox, sold 1,504 cards. My dad's in the chat. What's he have to say?
Interesting one for you. Do you think one of the artists from Project 70 will do a Ray Foss card? A Topps Now card would be also be appropriate, and I could see that for sure. Have him featured next week with the A's or Indians cap.
Or, this would be a nice way to do where, Indians card on Indians picture on an A's card or vice versa. And, go a little outside the proverbial box. I don't think they would do Topps Now, because I don't think that they've ever really, I don't think they did one for Hank Aaron when he passed away, or Ernie Banks, other extremely iconic players that have passed away during Topps Now's run. But I could see with some of the other players or, individuals, guys like Jerry Manuel and Tommy Lasorda that have gotten cards, it's definitely possible that a Ray Fosse could be in the works at some point. It's unlikely, but it's possible. Sure. Also releasing last week was 2021 Panini Donruss Optic Baseball, 2021 Panini Origins Football, 2021 Panini Chronicles UFC, and then, as we mentioned, 2021 Bowman Chrome X dropped, Montgomery Club exclusive. Oh, also 2021 Topps Rip came out last week, which was also a Montgomery Club exclusive. So you can go back and collect any of that stuff. I'm sure people are probably looking to offload some of their Chrome X or Topps Rip. So kind of take a look at that. Hot off the press, new releases. Topps Living Week 188 dropped today. Card 457, Anthony DeScalfini, pitcher for the Giants. And card 458, Yuli Gurriel, first baseman for the Astros. I think, and Matt can correct me if I'm wrong, the Gurriel is the Jared Kelly. Kind of a neat card, not wearing a hat. Gurriel's got that long hair, so kind of a fun-looking card. Could be wrong on which artist did which. I was busy today, so I didn't pay attention to who dropped who. So,
or who was last week?
Yeah, definitely was the Gurriel was Kelly. I'm certain of.
Mm-hmm.
But a nice week. Nice week. Got a star first baseman, and then of course the Astros and the Giants Topps probably trying to capitalize on both of their current postseason success.
Well, and then in this one's instance, as was passed along. Trying to get the picture up here. 2 seconds. An updated photo with the 6 pairs of relatives. If slow internet.
Oh, because they've already done They've already done Lourdes Gurriel.
Mm-hmm.
You've got the Biggio father-son.
You've got Derek and Ivan. You have Vlad and Vlad. You have Carl and Mike. Cabin and Craig. Austin and Aaron brothers. And Lourdes and Yuli Gurriel.
Nice. I love that Matt puts this stuff together. He does such a great job for people that enjoy the Topps Living series. So you always check out Cardboard Stats on Twitter. Matt does a phenomenal job of putting together numbers and
he does.
Photo collages that we like to borrow. Another one that we actually talked about with him this week, the Topps Living Star Wars dropped. Really good week if you're collecting this set. Card 247, Jabba the Hutt from Star Wars A New Hope. The Return of the Jedi had already come out. This was actually A New Hope. If you saw the extended updated one they did around 97 or whatever it was, there was a scene where Jabba the Hutt gets Han Solo outside of the cantina right after right as he's getting onto the Millennium Falcon, and there was like a horrible CGI of Jabba the Hutt. He steps on his tail and Jabba makes a stupid face. It was ridiculous CGI, but the card is really neat, so it's a really good Jabba card if you're a Star Wars collector. And then card 248, Qui-Gon Jinn from Star Wars The Phantom Menace. So if you're just kind of collecting what you like with this set, really good 2-pack to buy.
Pretty solid week, yeah. I'll give him credit on that. That's pretty solid.
Yeah, it's usually hit or miss, but every once in a while you'll see a solid 2-pack for Star Wars collectors or specific movie collectors as well. So that's a fun set to, I think at one point you were collecting some of the Topps Living WWE, which we don't talk about on the show, but that's probably one where you can collect certain wrestlers. If you wanted to go with vintage wrestlers versus modern and, or some collection thereof.
Yeah, I have the subscription, so they automatically do it weekly.
Gotcha.
The good about that is that I haven't missed any. The bad about that is I haven't missed any. And I will tell you, it was funny. I was thinking about it the other day. I don't think I've even looked in maybe the last 6 or 7 weeks to even see who the hell they've got. Because it's just, they finally started doing some of the older wrestlers. Because for the longest time, the earliest debuting guy they had was Undertaker, who was 1991. So, I mean, there was no Hogan, no Macho Man. So they did start getting some of the older ones in there. So I got a little more interested in it. And then I angry at Topps because over the course, so I got those. So I should get one package a week from Topps, right? No, there was like a 17-day span where I got 8 freaking packages from Topps. Because it's like they only print them like every 2 or 3 weeks, which is fine.
Yeah.
Got no problem with that. But then just send me one package with the 6 cards. I'm getting 3 and 4 packages in one day sometimes. And then they had a bunch of reprints where they screwed up, so they reprinted all the cards. So that package only had 1 card. And the subscriptions I had got to do initially, but when they sent the reprint, they sent them 1 at a time.
That's awesome.
All right, I'm done.
So, yeah, Rikishi, Yokozuna, there's some old school guys from around late 90s.
Yeah.
So if you guys want to see us, Steph and I can add these to the show notes. If you want to see if there's enough WWE collectors out there that want us to announce these each week, we'd be happy to add those in this part of the show. Just reach out to us on Twitter and let us know. Otherwise, we'll skip over
did
that.
I just see a print run I just saw a print run if you scroll back up. So that's a little bit more over Bobby Brain. I didn't know there was a Bobby Brain. That one right there is like 527. The Rob Van Dam's like 527. Yep. The print run on that thing. Holy crap. Dropping like flies.
Yeah.
That was card 58.
Speaking of another weekly release, one that I was super excited about was the Muhammad Ali. And a lot of the photos each week that I check it out look very similar. Muhammad Ali, there's a great movie on Amazon Prime called One Night in Miami, featuring his relationship with Malcolm X and Jim Brown and Sam Cooke. And I'm a huge Sam Cooke fan. And I was really hoping that they would make a Sam Cooke baseball card for me to collect as part of the Muhammad Ali series, and they haven't come close to putting out anything. But I asked, I was like, is anybody collecting the Muhammad Ali series? I'd really be interested to talk to somebody about that. So if you are, hit me up on Twitter. Just curious, because I haven't seen anybody at all mention that set. So, I mean, they've got to be selling them. I just was curious who's buying them. But we can definitely talk about the WWE if you guys are interested. Another on-demand print to release set that's wrapping up soon is the Top Sports Illustrated, available through next Tuesday. This is week 31 of 35. Card 61, the Atlanta Braves team card, featured on the 1995 cover, or a 1995 cover. And then card 62, Tony Gwynn, of course, with the Padres from 97. So you got another 5.5 days to buy those if you're collecting those. And then Topps Throwback Thursday. Personally disappointed they did not make an Oakland A during this set. This is available through tomorrow morning. Set number 40 is the fourth and final set of the 1986-87 hockey, which I thought was a really cool design. Really hoping they had done an Oakland A. Does turn out that all 12 cards were tipping their caps. Card 118, Ronald Acuna Jr. 119 was Nolan Arenado with the short print variation, and 120 is the kid Ken Griffey Jr. So be interesting to see what they bring out with set number 41 next week.
Go grab those. Decade? I'm going to say 80s.
Yeah, 80s. Seems like a lot of their focus is on 80s sets. A lot of their 80s IP. So not a whole lot as far as big releases go. So we're not going to spend a whole lot of time. Just quick overview on a couple. There's releasing today, Panini Donruss Optic Basketball Fast Break released. Could not find it. It was sold out on Steel City, sold out on Blowout. It looks like it's running around $445 a box, according to Midwest Cards. You'll get 18 packs in a box, 5 cards in a pack. You'll get 1 auto and 18 inserts or parallels.
And Fast Break's the one where they have the little donut circles on the inside.
Good knowledge. I didn't have that on the notes. Speaking of Panini, I have Mojo Break in the background on the TV, and they just busted some Panini Black Football. That is a solid looking product.
Sure.
So 1 pack, super expensive, but The base cars are sharp and the autos are sharper. Really good looking product. So speaking of WWE, scheduled to release on Friday is 2021 Topps WWE Chrome, dropping at around $113 a box. 24 packs in a box, 4 cards in a pack, 100 base. There are multiple insert sets to chase, and you're supposed to get 2 autos in a pack. Also releasing this week, 2021 Ben Baller Chrome. Guess what? Montgomery Club exclusive dropped, I believe, today officially. There was a tweet that I saw come across the timeline. Ben Baller apparently responded to somebody saying on Twitter, the print run of Chrome is, in his words, way less than that of Sapphire, stating also in that tweet, it's the rarest Chrome set out. So anyway, take Ben Baller for what it is. I know he's not the most popular dude from the Project 2020/70, but this is the second year of the Chrome release. I know a lot of people passed on it, complained about the price point. I think it was selling for over $300 a box. A lot of people were trying to, I'll buy my allotment before it goes on sale, and but buy it off me, please. Take my wife, please. Steph, didn't you have something also in the show DM about Cardboard Connection saying that there was like a 20 box limit or something for whatever was left over?
Correct. I had seen a link. Apparently there was a 20 bucks limit per person, and it seemed like they were trying to push it out, in that a little birdie slipped me a note that that apparently didn't sell out with the Montgomery Club, and the price was probably the expectation.
Probably because Montgomery Club people had to buy Chrome X and RIP,
right,
and all of these other products, like Ken alluded to. You had like 5 drop in the last month. Again, I hadn't had to change certain aspects of our show notes, knowing that there was going to be at least one Montgomery Club exclusive literally over the last 4 weeks. It's been stupid, ridiculous why they waited. Also curious the timing. This is all on the heels of all of the Fanatics news, and now all of a sudden all this stuff is coming out now. It's just... Anyway, also releasing this week is the 2021 Rittenhouse Women of Star Trek Art and Images today. And then on Friday is 2021 Leaf Ultimate Sports and 2021 Panini Origins Football International Blaster. All scheduled release dates are subject to change. Current as of this morning, MSRP pricing and product details were gathered from Blowout Cards and others. Subject to change. You can always check out Ryan Cracknell's articles, Beckett.com/news for more details on these new releases.
So do you think they released the Women of Star Trek on the day that Kirk touched the edge of space?
Interesting.
Intentionally? 90-year-old James T. Kirk getting a space ride thanks to Amazon?
Because this is called Art and Images, I'm curious to see some of it once it streets, because it's just kind of neat, something different, something I'm not familiar with. I think we'll touch on a topic next week about a card that I had asked another collector about today, that there's some interesting information. It was a Spider-Man card, and I wanted to ask about why it was selling for so much. So I think we'll get into that next week, just because I don't have that in the show notes. So what's brewing next week? There's a lot of stuff slated. What holds, what gets pushed back, who knows? Guess what? Newsflash, Big League Baseball, not on the list. Dropping on Wednesday the 20th, 2021 Bowman Transcendent, 2021 Panini Chronicles Baseball, Schepler's favorite product, 2021 Panini Mosaic Baseball, 2021 Panini National Treasures Collegiate Football, 2021 Topps 5-Star, and 2021 Topps Star Wars Chrome Legacy. And then on Friday the 22nd, 2021 Panini Absolute Football and the 2021 Donruss Football Factory set, which we've mentioned before, so that obviously got pushed back. The Infield Chatter Hobby Talk section, surprise, surprise, PWCC got sued. This is via Sports Card Radio. Gregory Latham has filed a class action lawsuit in Oregon against the Oregon-based company PWCC, accusing them of shill bidding. So we'll pause for a second for everyone to digest. I know that it comes as a surprise. Steph, there's a little blurb there about what the lawsuit is asking for in damages, if you want to run through that real quick.
Can do. I will do. An award of actual damages is an amount to be determined at trial. An award of statutory damages of $200 for each reckless or knowing violation of the Unlawful Trade Practices Act, ORS 646-605 ET SEQ. Prejudgment interest, post-judgment interest, attorney fees, cost disbursements, and expense of suit, including expert witness fees, as well as punitive damage. Seeking trial by jury.
Interesting. So, if somebody from PWCC is out there and wants to come on the show, we'd be happy to talk with them. I doubt they would come on because we would not give them free reign of what they're going to be asked. So,
probably not about this topic.
I would imagine not. Probably can't talk about this topic, but then again, there's no reason for them to come on because that's all we'd want to talk about.
I do have 2 quick hits for you. One related to somebody that you'd mentioned, and it's the pre-Vietnam War anyway. It's definitely vintage. 59 new card, Sam Cooke.
You're going to send me the details. I might have that somewhere.
Somewhere, if not, it's actually pretty reasonable on eBay. But 2, and this is only going to make sense if you watch the show on Netflix, but why are you here? I thought you were financially stable.
Yeah, I saw that meme earlier. I have not caught up on Squid Games. A lot of Squid Games related hobby stuff that I've seen recently. So,
all right, I liked it. I need someone to talk to it about.
I got through the first half hour of the first episode, and then some personal stuff happened, which if you follow me on Twitter, you're kind of sort of familiar with a little bit. So without getting into my personal private life too much, I do want to, since I just brought it up, anybody who reached out to me over the last week, I definitely appreciate all of the kind thoughts and support, albeit financial, emotional. Just really appreciate that, present company included. So moving on. PSA, not that PSA, but a real PSA via Mike_McKenna. Unfortunately, Mike sent a 2003 Bowman Chrome LeBron James rookie card to another collector. Someone in transit cut the package open and stole the card. The PSA number is 505-24926. So if you see this in the wild, please notify Mike, us, anyone that can get word to Mike. We definitely want to kind of, be a conduit if we can to get the word out there and be a part of bringing this home if necessary. With everything that's going on, we've seen, we've got another topic coming up about our good buddy Jimmy at Kentucky Cards here momentarily. We've seen his shop burglarized, I believe, now twice. With everything going on, Steph, are you surprised? Ken, are you surprised that we're not seeing, people at USPS and FedEx cutting stuff in? If you know it's a trading card, you're surprised that stuff's not being stolen more, or at least reported more.
Well, no, not entirely. I know, having worked in a UPS facility, that they're pretty strict about things. I'm not saying that things did get snuck out the back. However, it's not entirely surprising to hear stories of this more and more often. I know that there is a consortium of Canadian collectors who wish that my company would stop putting our label on it because their mailmen are aware of what type of business we are. Unfortunately, that's not a thing we can do. Sorry. Or that we're not going to do. I can't speak to that. We won't take it into consideration. Obviously, we don't want to be reimbursing. We don't want people losing their collection. But stop being shitty people. I think it boils down to that.
I'm surprised we don't hear more about it. And speaking of that, let me give you a rant. Hey, sellers. Don't write on the outside of the damn bubble mailer what's on the inside.
You mean I can't send Ben a thing that says diamond engagement ring on it?
I literally had one the other day come in that said McAveen Auto on it, on the outside of it, below his return address. Thankfully, that McAveen Auto was like $3, but still.
Still, yeah. The person at USPS that might have saw a CNBC story that knows trading cards are the new thing right now, doesn't know what that is. Autograph, okay, this is a gold mine. It's worth losing my job because who knows, maybe there's a $10,000 card in there.
And that's why I use my name on all my stuff, and I don't use like Bean's Ball Card Blog or something that says sports cards or something like that. I mean, I'm pretty sure that if my my mailman that literally picks up my mail outside has any clue what's going on in the world, he probably knows what's in a lot of those packages. But you know, it's just like common sense. People don't write on the outside what the hell's in there. Wagner, T206.
Well, and that's something I'll have to get some thoughts from a friend of my dad's, because he's friends with literally our neighbor, our mailman, rather. He comes over after his shift, and they share old military war buddy stories over a couple drinks. And I would have to get, I would love to hear his opinion on all of this, as far as not so much obviously what he does. It's not a thing he does, but as far as what, if anything, the USPS is doing to address this. But an interesting comment in the YouTube chat here: don't understand why Jimmy, Kentucky's Red Show, keeps allowing people to both record and then distribute on YouTube videos of the really expensive cards he has in the safe inside that shop. And I don't either, outside of the fact that Jimmy's probably a top 3 nice guy in the hobby.
Yeah, we were talking earlier about Anston. If we're making a Mount Rushmore of nice people in the hobby, Jimmy's got to have his face chiseled on that already. He's like literally the nicest guy that I mean, obviously Ken and I are there together, probably in a dual spot. So that's 1. Anson's 2, Jimmy's 3. But I just think that Jimmy's such a nice guy that he really doesn't. He's not wired. Ken said it more than once. Everybody's wired differently. I don't think that Jimmy's wired that way. He wants to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. I know, Steph, you've met him in person. I have not. He's been on the show. But he's always got this huge smile, and literally his smile touches each ear. He's just really nicest guy. He's, I mean, I don't know that he says cuss words. Probably says darn and heck a lot. And but it's a good follow-up to what we talked about a few weeks ago about what LCSs can do to hopefully combat some of these burglaries that we've seen reported. And hopefully this stuff doesn't happen more often. But yeah, just be careful. I worked for an LCS, helped out a buddy 8, 9, 10 years ago. And if he's selling stuff on eBay, he's like, on the label, cut the eBay part off, like powered by eBay. He goes, because I don't want people knowing what's in the package just by sight, that, hey, this is from eBay. You don't know what's in the package, but you know it was bought on eBay. So anytime, if I was to send one of you guys something from eBay, that part will be cut off, just because it became a habit. And again, don't, like Ken said, don't announce it. We don't need to celebrate what's inside it. Just be as discreet as you can. Think about, certain items coming in the black bag to your doorstep. The less information you give the mail carrier or anybody that might come in contact with that, the better. Just be discreet about it. So NFTs are a scam, and this guy gave us the playbook as to why via Stefan Deal at SM Deal, spelled DIEHL. Why is this a topic about the cards? It's because of course, NBA Top Shot and Topps Panini selling NFTs. We're not going to spend a lot of time on this, and we're not going to read the whole thread because it's going to take a while. But we would encourage anyone on Twitter who has not read it already and is interested in the topic to do so. Some brief highlights of the lengthy thread. Stefan compares NFTs to the Star Registry, which is selling the scam. That there's no tangible existence, rights, or utility to NFTs. When buying an NFT from an artist, you're not buying the image, but you're buying the digitally signed URL. Essentially, they are creating a false interest and a false market to scam people out of real money. NFTs can and are being used to launder dirty money. So, again, if you are on Twitter, please check out at SM Deal, DIEHL, and it's a great read. What's there, 14, 15 or
there's
more?
Probably 20, 25. responses.
Yeah. It looks like there's 20. Phenomenal if you're into NFTs. And again, I know not everybody is. A lot of people have NBA Top Shot muted on Twitter. So I think, Ken, you've mentioned it more than once, your dislike for it. I don't, because the whole economic side of things too. I enjoy kind of seeing what it's about. But if you are into NFTs or curious about them, read through that thread. A lot of interesting insight and analogies. So speaking of Jimmy at Kentucky Cards, he had a chance to open some 2011 Panini Gridiron with former NFL wide receiver Stevie Johnson, and Stevie pulled a Stevie. And as you watch the video, I love seeing Jimmy smiling with everything that he's been through with the aforementioned burglaries to his LCS.
I mean, it's
really
45 seconds. I can share it real quick.
Yeah, really fun video of he and another. He gets a lot of stars running through that LCS, and
yeah.
Oh, there you go. Let's go.
Sure did. So the blue card is the Stevie Johnson.
Isn't that cool? You got one of the best friends you back to back.
Cool. Back to back, man. That's wild. That's awesome. Wow, we complete now.
Is it?
Yeah.
Tried to pause it right at the end there, but he gets a pretty good shot of it.
I love seeing athletes excited about our hobby, because how cool is it to have an authentic trading card of yourself, and when they're in it as well. And we know a lot of athletes that do collect, but that's fun. And seeing Stevie in there interacting with Jimmy is phenomenal. Seeing the smile on Jimmy's face again, one of the nicest guys. We'll have to get him back on the show, Steph, soon.
Definitely.
So that was awesome. This was kind of cool. Young Gun assist from ComC via Steph at Steffler4, STEPHLER Steffler. Is that your joint account with Shep?
It is not, but I saw this come across the work feed, and it's absolutely amazing. So this is from 2013 to 2014, all the way through 2020-21. Every single Young Gun.
So what are some of the highlights out of there? Some of the big names over the last 8 years that, if we were just pulling the top 2 or 3 cards.
Naturally, McKinnon, you have McDavid, you have Eichel, you have essentially all of the top stars, really, within this little 8 to 10 year gap that he has complete.
So, but I know we were talking, the three of us were talking before the show, as well as during the section about, pre-war, and a lot of it comes down to money, what you can afford, and even if you had the money available, there's going to be certain sets. I know that we were talking before the show, certain sets like the 1912 T207 brown background tobacco cards that are just extremely hard to find by comparison to the T206s. If money wasn't an object, and I didn't want to go and hassle with this and buy them individually, if I just wanted to buy this guy's collection, what would something like this, what's an 8-year run, what would something like this cost me on the secondary if I was just buying the whole group of cards as one?
I mean, this is a pretty fair price for this card. Oh, my windows just disappeared. 1 second. This is a pretty good price for this one card in particular. Not all of them are going to run this, obviously. So some of them $2 to $3, some of them within the $20 to $100 range. This is the huge one, Connor McDavid, obviously. Currently has a buy it now price of $850 ungraded, and that's pretty fair. I would say probably for all of those, looking in the neighborhood of $2 to $5 grand.
That was my thought. I would say
Ben?
probably about 3 to 5 was what my initial thought was.
Pretty fair.
Okay, so I don't know. I haven't really been in the hockey game for a while, but I would say that based on the years that are there,
Yeah.
you pretty much take the top 10 or 15 cards, pay full retail, and that's what you could get it for. Because EPAC has killed the prices of the lower priced ones, where the lower ones used to go on eBay for $3, $4, $5. Now they're cents. So I think if you paid basically full price for maybe the top 10 to 15, I think that'd be a fair price, and you kind of just got the rest of them with it.
Yeah, and of course you're buying it as a whole. So, you mentioned earlier, Ken, that you're not getting full pop.
Mm-hmm.
You're just
exactly.
Not. You're going to have 60, 70 cents on the dollar if you're buying. Because if I've already got some, I don't need them all. Unless I have none. Like Ben right now has 0, along with 0 interest in doing this. But hypothetically, if I wanted to, I need 100% of those cards. But I'm still going to expect a little bit of a discount.
Absolutely.
So, but if you were going to do this, the McDavid would probably be one of your first objects of your focus, just to pick that one off.
Nathan McKinnon, maybe Vladimir Tarasenko,
Matthews.
Matthews. Maybe the most recent 2 or 3 years. Sure.
But impressive collection, well done, and it's awesome to see this. If you have an interesting collection like this, something that you've pieced together over the years, like you, if you ever get that 55 set done, we want to see it in all its glory sitting together.
His commentary was that 2014-15 maybe is one of his favorite hidden gem years, with Pasternak, Draisaitl, Vasilevsky, and as I commented, Kuznetsov, Bennington, and Carlson. 2014 is a pretty good year of those. Some names.
Yeah, it probably, again, once you get the big names, probably want to pick off, once you're pursuing this, pick off some of the easier years that have the easiest, just to get rid of 15, 16, for instance, before you go, whatever the year is. But there's no right or wrong way to approach this. If you want to go grab a bunch to begin, just like a vintage set, if you want to start with a filler set, or, buy a large lot to give yourself a head start, that's always nice as well. For the love of Probstein, via Ivan at Watch the Breaks, good old Rick has a 2011 Bowman Sterling, Salvador Perez, red refractor, apparently a 1 of 1, listed on eBay with 5 days to go, I believe, as of tonight. If we click the link, I think I'll still have 5 days. This must be a non-numbered backdoor proof, because it's not serial numbered, as the red refractor is supposed to be. A collector on Facebook has taken pictures of the actual 1 of 1 red refractor of Salvi Perez with the 1 of 1 stamp, as he owns the card. So, okay, boys, Facebook guy has the card stamped 1 of 1. Rick Probstein has a non 1 of 1. What the hell's going on?
Thanks, Tops.
Is
this a real card? Is this a real card? Like actually manufactured by Topps?
Presumably.
Okay,
now,
then
whether
how
it was actually the red, or whether it was backdoored from Topps, or the printing facility, or the paper facility, or what have you. I do know that in the mid to late 2000s, this had happened a couple times, more infamously with some of the other major names. That 2 of 5 made it out of the print factory, but someone else also got a 2 of 5. Whether the numbers were supposed to be changed or whatnot's another story. But this definitely doesn't look right.
I mean, the optics aren't good, and anytime you're buying from PW Probstein, I mean, they've got enough of a. There's been plenty of. I don't want to say scandals, but there's been plenty of incidents involving those two. And I mean, we pick on those two. We don't pick on those two. They're the biggest two. So enough to be skeptical. But I just pass right over their items. So I would have never even noticed it anyway.
No, it's just, it's fun stuff, because again, it's if this is just random Joe collector one on eBay and he's got this card, maybe it goes by without a second thought. But because it's Probstein, it's got this bright, flashing red, white, and blue light in your rear view mirror. It's like, come on, what's going on here? Especially when somebody calls it out and says, "I got the card." Yeah, I don't think Probstein's making this in his back. I don't think he's making it in his trunk of his car like Brian Gray makes his cards. But it's a fishy looking card.
Well, I mean, it's a consignment. He's a consigner, so I mean, it would be more on whoever submitted it, I would think. But yeah, it makes you wonder how much research they do. I mean, maybe they do. Maybe they know. But it seems like if it's something like that, then shouldn't that be in the item description? Hey, we know this is not numbered, but A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
Exactly what was going to be my point was that as someone had commented, maybe this was one of those Topps Vault auctions that it was a proof and it got the little slip saying, hey, this is a Topps Vault thing, got peeled off, googoned or whatever, and they're just not listing it as such.
Yeah, but this is where like trimmed cards come into that chain of custody, that if I trim a card and I sell it to you, Ken, and you sell it to Steph, but when I sold it to you, I said, hey, I trimmed this, and you didn't tell him, you lose that chain of custody and that knowledge, even if you're not doing it with any shenanigans and ill intent. If it just gets lost, or if I die and my wife sells off my stuff, how would she know what a homemade card is and what was actually produced? I've got cards from good buddy Mark Mosley. Obviously, that looks like it was homemade by comparison, but there are ACO cards, are embellished cards. A lot of Project 70 cards are being embellished and being sold as authentic one-of-ones, and they're cool looking. Somebody's doing it at home. How the heck would she know? You mentioned Crystal earlier, and she'll listen and she knows a little bit, but she doesn't know. If you've got a stack of these trimmed cards at home, these T206s that you or somebody else trimmed, how does she know? And as soon as she sells them, and that's where that information gets lost, and an unsuspecting buyer buys this Perez not knowing that it's a backdoor proof, and then is it shenanigans on part of Probstein? It just looks curious because of the seller name attached. So buyer beware, know what you're buying. Always ask a friend if you don't know. If something,
especially when you're shelling out that kind of money.
Yeah,
right.
It's a little different if I'm spending $5 on it, whatever. Hey, it's a little different, but not when that was up over 200.
Yeah, we've all bought reprint cards or things like that. You buy an aged reprint as an aged. I've got a porcelain Eddie Plank that's awesome. Paid $10 for it. It's porcelain, and it fits really nicely in the little slot that the T206 Eddie Plank is supposed to be. That will never be there, but right now, hey, it's there. It's cool. And I pay $10 knowing it. I know when I buy $10 worth of McDonald's, it's not healthy, but I buy it anyway. So why some collectors won't be sad to see Topps go in its current form? I know we mentioned this earlier. At Satchel Price tweeted, he asked for a fan of the Ben Baller Chrome release to explain to him how this is anything more than a poor man's Topps Sapphire, which Ben Baller himself, of course, related the two releases to as well. We've seen Steve Aoki, Ben Baller, Blake Jameson. I don't know if I'm missing any standalones. Is this just a way to promote some of the Project 2020 / Project 70 artists? Is this just Topps shitting on their own IP and bastardizing their own brands? Even Lauren Taylor came out, I believe, yesterday, teasing yet another one, an upcoming standalone release between her and Topps. It's just like, you guys are just literally, and all of this crap on the heels of all these Montgomery Club releases. It's like, stop.
But the printing presses are still running.
And they're going to run 24/7. We asked this after the whole Fanatics thing dropped. Is that what's going to happen? Yes. We've got our answer, and it's literally been 8 weeks.
Also, Keith Shore had the 89 Bowman.
That's right. Keith Shore had one as well. I'm sorry. Yeah, I forgot. I thought I was forgetting one or two, or 17.
Print it and they will buy.
Yeah, it's it's just nonsense. And if you follow Topps now, if you collect Topps now, I was devastated when the A's, who had a really solid year for a few months, fell out of playoff contention right at the end. Right, they just ran out of gas. And every day I click on Topps now, and there's like 6 releases for the postseason cards from the last night. This guy got a single in the second base, but he didn't score. But that's cool. We're going to make a card anyway.
But did you buy Wander Franco autos the day after they got eliminated?
He's a call up. He's a prospect call up. That we're going to call him that on every. It's just there's so much of this crap, and it's just going to keep coming and coming and coming. Congratulations, buckle up. We got 3 more years of this. So, kind of an interesting question. At Card Purchaser, great follow. Has a lot of the crap that dude gets tagged in. Everybody and their brother tags Card Purchaser now, but he asked the old algebra question: X is undervalued in the hobby. Solve for X. It's interesting question since there's no right answer. Some of the responses included time before the Fanatics take over, any non-quarterback football player. Val at NASCAR Radio said NASCAR cards. Bryce Harper, Freddie Freeman. I mean, you can pretty much add any non-first or second-year player in baseball. Low pop vintage commons. Junk wax era Tiffany. Hockey, just in general. I said collecting because there's just not a lot of collectors. What do you guys think? X is undervalued in the hobby. Solve for X. What is undervalued in your guys' opinions?
So it's one of the ones you mentioned vintage commons. I can pick up any Walter Johnson vintage card with a big enough checkbook, but picking up Cecil Travis or Sam West is a little bit harder to find. Why?
I thought hockey was an interesting, just like generally the hockey. I know we've seen a lot more traction with F1 and some of the other things. WWE has a fairly strong following, but I know hockey's soccer.
Sure.
Yeah,
I know that with ESPN picking up the license, that may change.
So
more eyeballs.
I think my thing is low, and low is relative, perhaps based on the player, but low serial numbered cards.
Okay, sure.
I do think that's something that's going to start to jump. They do slowly disappear into collections over time. So, if it's a guy from a popular team and it's numbered out of 100, that's a lot, but over time they slow down. Now, but for a guy that's a third line center, it needs to be lower numbered than for a Sidney Crosby. But let's be honest, the Synergy cards that are numbered out of $7.99 and $8.99, that's still kind of short printed, especially when you start talking about guys like Crosby, Ovechkin, McDavid, and so on and so forth. So I think that's where there's going to be a day where that's going to be, the new big thing.
Yeah, I think my favorite answer, honestly, was the junk wax era Tiffany cards. They only ran from 84 through 91. And because they have the highlighted back, some of them do get confused for the Topps Traded an update that came out during that era. And when people get that popular misconception of that era, they're junk, which is I think it's just got a nasty connotation. It's junk, therefore it's worthless. And it's not. It just defines an era: pre-war, vintage, modern, junk wax era. We just know it depending on where the goalpost is. We just know it's early 80s through mid 90s, and maybe a little bit here, a little bit there. But there's still a lot of stuff that's worth a lot of money and hard to find from that era. And I think Tiffany regional releases as well. Leaf,
Flair Glossy.
Flair Glossy, another one, and maybe some of the other sets that aren't as heavily produced from that era.
Scarcity.
Yeah. So
over time, scarcity I think becomes more and more of a factor.
Sure.
You know, at the current time, there's so much out there. You know, like I said, card numbered out of 100. Well, you can buy 25 of them right now because they're on eBay. But try looking for those in 15 more years. And same thing with Tiffany and you know those kind of things. You know, true scarcity, I guess is what I'm getting at.
yeah, because they were only sold, and correct me if I'm wrong, Steph. They were only sold as complete sets, right?
Mm-hmm. Most of them.
And so I've got a complete set of Tiffany. Now I have to open it up and either sell off all of the individual cards or just the ones I didn't want. And you know, I can tell you from experience, go find yourself a 1985 Topps Mark McGwire USA Olympic Tiffany card. It's not inexpensive, raw, and they do not come up very often. I missed out on one originally when I was in pursuit of one at a very reasonable price, I thought, which was still triple figures, and then I caught the next one, but it took me months for that next one to pop. And I love collecting multiples. I have 90 of the original 85 non-Tiffany's. I probably will never get a second Tiffany just because, you know, again, they're not cheap. And I thought that was really, really interesting comment. But yeah, a lot of that stuff, and you know, a lot of the stuff will dry up. You know, we say all the time, if it's just a base set you're after, you can wait months and months after the release and get it for pennies on the dollar. But a lot of the serial numbered, a lot of the parallels, you want some of the gold label parallels, which just came out, the series or class 1, 2, 3. You want some of the black, maybe not the black as much, but the blue, the purples, and the reds. You got to get them now because odds are nobody's opening that 6 months from now.
Sure.
You know, so you have to hope somebody has some lying around that hasn't listed it yet. But you have to be actively looking for it.
I feel like I've heard you say that about older Ginter X as well. Like it just dried up, and
it does. The minis specifically.
The minis.
Especially
the minis are because I think on one of the releases, if I remember, Brent Williams saying that there was like only 100 copies of each mini made, and you know, you need to know your checklist and know what you really want to add to your PC, and know whether or not you can wait to get a better deal, or if you have to buy it now. And a lot of times that also means you're probably going to pay a little bit more than you're comfortable with as a result. You know, can you wait for the next one? It's hard to say, which is a great segue into our next topic, because Ivan at Watch the Breaks asked a question. He goes, how SSP, super short printed, are SSPs these days? The 2018 Ronald Acuna Jr. Bat Down SSP has a pop report of 1,600, according to the PSA website. And that's just PSAs. So when you hear SSP direct from a checklist, making my checklist, want to figure out what I need and what am I pursuing? Oh, they're making an Acuna SSP. What is your estimation on anticipated print run? What do you think in your head? Oh, they're only going to make how many of this particular card?
Nowadays, probably $2-3 grand. What it used to mean under 500. I mean, they got to keep printing with everything that's coming out, with as many parallels that they're creating. We know the numbers are up.
Yeah, but it's not a short print, right? A short print means
no.
You know, they're going to make half as many base or 3 for every 10 base. Right. Super short print, yeah, you would think, you know, 1,600. If you said there were 1,600 that exist that were printed due to the 2018 print run of the update series, 1,600, cool. That's how many exist, and that's why they carry such a premium. But when you're telling me that PSA has graded 1,600 of these, how many are raw? How many are at BGS? How many are at a 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th grading company? I mean, now you're talking about is 5,000. How many raw are there for every one graded? Because if it's 1 equals 1, then there's 3,200 copies just based off of PSA. That to me is not a super short print.
No, that means the gold itself is more rare.
There you go, right?
Yeah, the only other thing I was thinking as you were talking was, have they added, is every year goes on and we know that the presses, they're running more and more every year. Are there more actual SP cards, like, were there 30 cards that were super short printed, and then the next year there were 60 that were super short printed? So then maybe that number of each individual card stays the same, but I don't know what those numbers are. That was just something that popped into my head.
Yeah, it's just, we got update series releasing in 2 weeks, and you're going to have your short prints, and you're going to have your SSPs, and maybe even 3S and then Ps, which I think in years past have been like out of 5 or something like that. But how do we know? It just, to me, when I heard SSP, it means there aren't very many. And when I see 1,600 of these got graded at just one grading company, even if it's one of the big two, to me, that means there's a ridiculous amount of these out in the wild in some form, raw graded. So
one other slight devil's advocate on that. Let's be honest, with a card like that, how many times are people resubmitting the damn thing?
Sure.
There's
I know it's still a high number. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's not. But I mean, you have people that are resubmitting the same cards because of value 3, 4, 5 times. And it's not everybody, but it's a lot.
But even if you cut that number in half, that half of them got regraded, and that puts 800 unique cards as being graded at least once. And that's just through PSA. To me, that just seems like 800 might be my estimation of how many should have been made to begin with to warrant that second S for the super part.
Funny that you mentioned that. Did you put that the regrading bit on the show notes, Ben?
The regrading?
Yes. I don't know if you saw it. There was a guy who was essentially doing a betting game wherein I'm going to regrade this. It's an 8 now. If it comes back a 7, I'll pay for it, and it's yours. But if it comes back a 9 or a 10, you pay for it, and it's yours to keep. And you throw in $300.
I did see that, and it was so convoluted, and it made my head hurt that I said, I don't want to talk about this. So congratulations, universe, you win.
That sounds like a Raz or something, doesn't it?
It sounds really
sad.
Really shady. Steph, let's skip some of these evergreen topics just because we're running a little bit long, and we did have some really good listener questions that had popped up. There was one thing real quick that I think is some fun. The shit you see on eBay or Facebook, I like to hashtag on Twitter and have some fun when you see something. Someone on Facebook shared a picture. They graded a 1988 Donruss Mike Lavalier. It was graded a 1 MK. Steph, what does the MK stand for?
I believe it's marked.
Mark.
So what does that mean?
Like a pen mark or a crayon.
They put MK on this. It literally looks like somebody crumpled it up and flattened it out. Yeah. MK, it's marked. I think the card has okay. Somebody asked if it stood for mint condition. Obviously, the word condition, K. You see the memes like actually mint condition. So what is the worst offense? Grading, 3 options: grading a 1988 Donruss anything, regardless of the player, grading a Mike Lavalier card, or grading this specific card in this specific condition.
This card, this condition, for what it's worth per PSA. Qualifiers are marks, MK, a card that has some kind of written marking on it, miscut MC, off-center OC, out of focus OF, printing defect PD, and staining ST.
They don't have a WTF for cards like this?
No.
See, my understanding was, so when it has one of those qualifiers, that actually means the real grade is 2 grades lower, so that actually makes this a -1 grade. So that
which is fair.
So that's probably a pop 1, and you know how important pop 1s are to the grading people.
Now I did have Ben Aguirre has a 19-something score. Brian Jordan or Brian something, I forget which player it is. At one of the grading companies right now that has a backstory because I think he dropped it or something in a puddle of water and it means something to him. So I could see maybe there's a backstory that this particular card has as we're poking fun at it. Maybe there's a real sincere reason why this card got graded.
Once a Cub said kind of thought what he said could be a childhood favorite card. I was thinking maybe it was somebody's wallet card or the first card they had as a kid. And they had it everywhere with them, and then they said, "Hey, I'm just going to get it slabbed up for spits and giggles." I mean, I've had wallet cards over time, and
yeah.
Again, you never know. I mean, there's a reason. There's a reason somebody graded that. There is a story. I just wish we knew what it was.
Yeah, if you're out there listening to the show or you know who graded that card, let us know the backstory. We'd love to issue a on-air correction, and because it's fun. I mean. I've mentioned on the show before the 1988 Topps Jeff Reardon. My 3-year-old brother, then at the time in 1988, thought it looked like my dad because my dad had a beard and Jeff Reardon had a beard. That's the whole reason. And he took that card everywhere. If that card still existed and, I had access to it, I'd probably at least throw it in a top loader or a one-touch just because it's got a family story behind it. But got a listener question here that I want to get to from Rob_Junkus. After the Fanatics takeover, will we see an influx of older Topps products hit the market that may have been warehoused or held back from Topps?
So I don't see much in the way that some of those that went out of business in the late 90s happening, wherein, much like this question is alluding to, products that either didn't get released or proofs for sets that had been released right at the very end. I don't see a huge rush on that. However, I can see Topps opening up the vault some and selling off some of the sheets, some of the things that they can authenticate rather than some customer service member who walked in and left with stuff.
Yeah, my first thought was to be determined. I mean, because if Fanatics were to buy Topps, as Michael Rubin says one of the companies might be purchased, you would have to think all that stuff is coming with them. And I don't know how much of this stuff is actually warehoused and not sold, because right now, even over just the last couple of years, there's such a market for it that, of course, if they've got it, they're selling it to distributors, even if they're marking it up after that initial buy. They might hold back 30% of that initial drop and then wait for that first wave to be broken over the first week and then, flood the market again with that remaining 30%. But they release so many products so fast, they don't have time. Look at what happened with the Ben Baller Chrome. Montgomery Club buyer said, I'm good. I'm not buying it at that price. There's no interest. Cool. And then they're like, well, we got so much of this stuff laying around. Cool. It's $20 limit. Whoever wants to come one, come all, please get rid of this stuff. They don't want to sit on that stuff. And I don't think that this stuff's going to have a secondary market long-term either. Could be wrong on that part. But the first part, I don't think Topps has a warehouse full of 2019 Series 1.
Sure.
Yeah, I feel like they're just turning and burning right now. There's no reason to do anything other than that.
Yeah. It's a good question, though, because we just don't know what's being held back, I do think at the end of 2025, if Topps is on their outs, they should just, now you release the 2018 Allen and Ginter minis for us to enjoy.
Wood minis.
So last question real quick via US Sports Cards 1. Great Twitter account. Kind of came out of nowhere, but it's got some great content. And he has a couple other questions that we're not going to get to tonight. But this one I did want to get to. He asked what percentage of the hobby might boycott Fanatics, other brands in coming years. In other words, the merchandise and memorabilia aspect, as we see Fanatics trend towards a monopoly. If you're a hobbyist, are you just going to say, you know what, I don't like what you guys did with the trading cards, so you don't get any of my business?
I've certainly heard from people that have said it's not baseball if it's not Topps. And for years, I've heard people deride Panini as a viable baseball product because of that exact same reason. But I don't know. I think there's certainly going to be a certain amount that at least tries to see what Fanatics comes out with before they make up their mind, I would hope. But I can definitely see, like I said, there's many friends of mine who have said they're not touching a Fanatics product because it's not baseball. They'll go back to collecting vintage.
I mean, I feel like we hear about boycotts every couple months, so we hear about it for 2 days, and that's the end of it. So
sure,
I'm just gonna leave. I'm just gonna leave right there.
Yeah, it's like saying I'm gonna I don't like a cable company, so I'm not gonna watch your channel. That's cool because the other channel is probably owned by the same company. Every company is owned by a parent company that owns this and owns that. If you don't like Disney, well, guess what? You don't like Disney? Cool. Turn off your TV because they damn near own it all. So It's just one of those things that everything is so intertwined and interlinked that it is what it is at this point. And I don't think Fanatics is going to cry over losing Steph, Ken, or Ben's business as far as buying hats and memorabilia, because they were organically going to pick up other business, because that's just the way it is. They've got the biggest ball in the game, and you want to do business with merchandise and memorabilia and soon to be trading cards. Now you could make a different argument, different topic for another night. If it goes to the hobby goes to predominantly a digital platform, how many true collectors are going to cease doing business moving forward? But again, different topic. But we appreciate US Sports Card 1. We do have a couple more questions he asked that we'll save for another night. A couple of shout outs real quick. Reminder, Brian Bice is raising money through his Sportlots account, Brian B03, through October 31st. And that money will be donated to the At Carmen Fund. I guess they hit a certain monetary threshold. Still looking to raise some more money. You can always reach out to Bice, BICE Music, and Carmen Fund on Twitter for more information. And then Steph and I are going to be bringing back the history of the hobby, reviewing the history of certain brands, releases, and full histories of manufacturers, current and past. We already have some exciting ones on the list that we want to kind of get into. Please let us know if you have a favorite brand or release. It could be something, I know 1975 minis and how they were distributed is on the list. 1964 jumbos we talked about, or giants, I think that's what they were called. And why it was like a standalone release, and then they brought them back a few years later for a couple of years. So anything that you think of that, hey, I remember this particular one, and we're going to reach out to Andrew Ehrenstein to talk about TCMA at some point. So do either of you gentlemen have any final thoughts before we do the outro?
I got nothing. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Yeah, remember we're live every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific, 10 Central on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe and review our show on all platforms. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at About the Cards. You can find Steph at Junkwax Twins, me at Our Trading Cards. Ken, where can we find you and your content?
Down in the
pretty much everywhere. Pretty much everywhere. Beans Ball Card Blog, except Twitter, where it's just Beans B Card Blog. And then I know Once a Cub asked, Monday night, 8 p.m. Eastern on the 3B Collection channel, we do an almost weekly live show, which is just we just do 1 hour, just get a couple topics in, and we definitely try to interact with everyone in the chat. So would love to have
some
of you join.
3B/B3, if you will.
Oh, yeah. As of now, it's still just called Hobby Chat. I've tried to get him to change the name, and
Sure.
he seems a little resistant. So
sure.
All right. So thank you everybody for listening. Please share your hobby stories. Great polls. Send your questions our way. Love the interaction. Appreciate all of the support, both personally and with the show. And hey, you know what? Keep collecting.
Except for that troll, they can burn.
yes, they can burn.